Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of The Gavel, featuring attorney Anna Toledo. Ms. Toledo is the senior attorney and general counsel to Targeted Justice. She has a background in constitutional and environmental law and is an experienced litigator, including 2 cases at the U.S. Supreme Court. And here's Ms. Toledo.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 40 of The Gavel, a podcast dedicated to bringing you the latest news on our quest for the end of government weaponization. I'm your host, Ana Toledo, an attorney with more than 30 years' experience litigating constitutional, civil rights, and environmental law in my beloved patria of Puerto Rico, until I had to be airlifted by Targeted Justice because I had become aware that for over 2 decades, more than 2 decades, I had been a targeted individual. As a Puerto Rican, I would not have fathomed that such a program existed, because the dossier case that the Supreme Court exposed in the case Noriega versus Hernandez Colon exposed the COINTELPRO operation in Puerto Rico. Little did I know that my father, who was a victim of COINTELPRO, little did I know that that program not only never ended, but morphed into a more horrific, unacknowledged special access program, which is what I am fighting here in Washington, D.C., where I moved to fight in a mission for freedom. As you know, that the goal is to expose this program, because every day we see that it's getting more and more exposed, particularly, as I'm going to explain, the Epstein files are the gift that keeps on giving. This will be really awesome, because there is just so much to cover that I hope I can cover it within the time period that I have set myself. I don't want to keep you so long, but I do want you to know that good things are happening and that we'll be free. Now, please help me defeat censorship. My content is so throttled and so shadow banned that it's obvious, it's the violations to my First Amendment rights, and to that, those of this community are so egregious that they will be very easy to prove, and our day comes to prove them in court. But for now, I ask that you please like, share, and subscribe this episode, so that it's not about you, it's about normies out there that need to know about this content, and people that are not normies. There's J6 parents protesting school board meetings, people that oppose COVID mandates. All of them are target individuals, and they don't know it. They are victims of government weaponization, and they do not know the first thing about this program, other than that they were victims of lawfare and some of them persecution. Anyways, are you seeing me, or I see that I'm frozen? I think that the criminals froze me. Can somebody tell me? Hi, are we? Can somebody text me and tell me if you can see me, or this is being throttled? I think that's exactly what the criminals are doing, throttling it. So, well, hi, everyone. Jill, can you please tell me? Because I don't see that the video is happening, at least on my end. Well, I'm going to continue, and if the criminals think that they are going to interrupt or be an obstacle to, doesn't matter. I'll do it tomorrow, but I'm going to continue doing it. And Jill, let me know, please, in the comments if it's if the criminals have completely stopped, because I'm not seeing my image. I'm sorry. I'm not seeing my image move in the computer. Okay. Jill, or somebody, can somebody put a comment that you hear me and see me in real time, please? Okay, well, I'm going to deem this a practice and I'm going to continue doing my show. And if the criminal's interrupted, what I'm going to do is I'll do it again tomorrow, because I learned a saying that goes like this, something that goes like, it's hard to beat someone that doesn't give up. And that's me. Anyways, to begin with, I'd like to invoke the Holy Spirit to come into this space here. Okay, here we go. Criminals, you're so scared of me. Are you so scared of me? I'm so sorry here. They are out of control. Absolutely out of control. I can't even see the comments or anything, but I can see and hear me. Okay, perfect. Let's do it. Okay. Let me just invoke the Holy Spirit to be you can see me and hear me in real time. Okay. Well, but if at the end of the, okay, thank you. I don't know if they're going to let me put what I'm trying. I have a lot to show you today, and they're not letting me put it in the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and read it. To begin, I'd like to invoke a Bible verse that is very relevant to all of us on these days, and it comes from the first book of Samuel 17:45, and it says, "You come against me with a sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." And that is what these criminals can't take, that we come in the name of Lord. And that is how we have been able to defeat such horrible military grade weaponry. There is no way we could have survived what we have survived unless it was because we're doing the Lord's work. We are changing history. But we're not just liberating ourselves with this fight against this satanic evil program, but we are changing the course of history for the people that come behind, children. So God is on our side, and even though we might seem that our little weapons are less powerful than those military grade weaponry that is used against us, well, the truth is that we have God on our side and we are more powerful. So and now they have they have entirely destroyed my I cannot see myself. So okay, if you can see me, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to restart my Gavel, because I'm not going, so please come back as soon as I restart it right now, because I'm not going to let them do this. Okay, let me see if I can start from another computer, and we're just going to do it. They're not going to stop me. No, they won't. No, they will not. Okay, the criminals decided to start it again, to let me start again. Here's the thing that they don't know. All of these shenanigans, what they're doing is that they're proving that my words are a threat to them, that we are winning. So let me see if the criminals are going to let me finish the show. If not, like I said, I will announce it for tomorrow. I know you're going to be there because I have tons of good stuff to tell you. Okay, so let's start with the journey into what happened this week. Let's see if you can see me correctly. Okay. The truth avalanche cannot be stopped. Okay. The Epstein files have unleashed a truth avalanche that not only proves that the pedophile elites have ruled our country, but also, and the world, but also they are giving hints as to the entire structure of this heinous program. The first thing that is horrific that is happening is that Pam Bondi continues the nefarious practice that Ray exacerbated into the sole goal of the FBI. More money, more people in the watch list, more money, so we can persecute more people. And so she has finally admitted that there is a watch list in the DOJ, even though, let me show you this video from, this is a former board member from Project Veritas, and he's admitting in an undercover camera that he is in an enemies list that the DOJ keeps. Just take a look.
Another warning. Ahead of the election, I had phone calls from DOJ sources telling me that I was on a enemies list that was going to get perp walked for non-compliance.
Is that like a threat, or they were warning you? Like,
no, they were warning. I had a friend who happened to be at the DOJ at a deputy level who called me and said on a Friday night at midnight and said, like, dude, you're on a fucking list. You're going to get perp walked in October. And it didn't happen because what happened in between then?
We're not.
So she has an enemy list. Pam Bondi, the same one that couldn't answer questions in Congress, she goes to, she has an enemies list there, right there in DOJ. And she went to Congress and she said that this list is authorized by National Security Presidential Memorandum 7. This guy doesn't look like Antifa. He's a former board member of Project Veritas. He's not a terrorist. He was only working in an organization, Project Veritas, which is what James O'Keefe founded, and then they fired him after the Pfizer article that he did that was amazing. Well, here is Pam Bondi saying, yeah, we have a secret list of domestic terrorist organizations. She said it during a House Judiciary Committee hearing on Wednesday. She knows that Antifa is part of that, said Bondi, but it's not just Antifa. It's people like you and me. So I don't know if it's that the FBI, because of all the Privacy Act requests that we have sent, changed the list. I mean, I don't know what shenanigans they're doing, but clearly this is a call that I'm going to be doing it, and I hope that you do it too for all of you that have sent your Privacy Act requests. I'm going to send it to DOJ as well, because Pam Bondi cannot have us listed as enemies. Anybody, remember I told you about Todd Blanche talking about how anybody that criticized the government was anti-government, and that's not true. He doesn't know the first thing about the First Amendment, which is precisely the right, the inalienable right that everybody has to criticize everything that is being done wrong in the government. Just like he did the lobbying to pardon the indicted former governor of Puerto Rico. That is not transparency. That is not what Donald J. Trump ran on. And he is doing over there in DOJ whatever he wants. So we have Bondi admitting to the Judiciary Committee that she has her own little terrorist list, supposedly under that National Security Presidential Memorandum, which conflates constitutionally protected speech and political activism with domestic terrorism. You cannot, that is protected speech. Domestic terrorism, a term that has no basis in United States law, specifically targets that those exposed that the administration defines as anti-American. I am absolutely certain that they are categorizing Thomas Massie as anti-American, who is the man that, thanks to him, the entire Epstein, he insisted until the other representative that the Epstein files were exposed. There is nothing more patriotic than that. Yet, absolutely certain, Bondi has him categorized as an enemy. Okay, so that is very dangerous. The other dangerous thing that we have is that we have the DHS admitting that they are using administrative subpoenas to obtain thousands of your records, of our records, from major companies such as Meta, such as YouTube, so Google, all of that. And what this is that they do not have reasonable suspicion. They do not have probable cause to go to a court of law, an Article 3 court, and demand a warrant against you. And since I was last week, the week before that, I went to that hearing of the telecom companies, they just give, they just get a letter and they don't even inquire. They just send the information. And I'm not talking about your public posts, because you might have public posts in Instagram and all of that you cannot really claim a privacy right to it. What I'm talking about is the messengers, the messages that you send through Instagram, through Facebook, through Twitter, that are not supposed to be public. That is what the gist of the illegality here. And I am absolutely certain that these people are giving them access to all of it. So that is something that we have to be looking for. And fortunately, there are two right now. We have a senator and a representative that are looking into this and appear to be willing to be doing something about it. Now, I want to show you, last week I showed you this video, which I want to show it to you again, because I'm going to show you another video of something that happened this week.
Those people, First Amendment right, data taken, they're not being placed in any kind of a database?
There is no database for protesters, sir.
One of your officers in Maine said to one of the individuals protesting, we're going to put your face in a little database. What does that mean? Do you have a little database of Americans?
No, sir, we don't.
Then what do you think your ICE agent was doing to this individual when he said those statements?
I can't speak for that individual, sir, but I can assure you there is no database that's tracking United States citizens.
And that, I repeat, is perjury. So if you are one of Padilla's constituents, you should write to him. That is absolute perjury. And I'm going to show you the next one, because now they're talking about an app. Get a load of this.
Nice agent, and I got several of my fucking officers in here. This is your one and only fucking warning.
I was just on the phone.
No, you're not. So here's the deal. This is your one and only warning. I catch you here again, I'm yanking you out of that fucking car, because you're taking pictures with your little GoPro and everything there. All right? Anything happens to our vehicles or anybody in here.
It's not on.
Yeah, if anything happens to our vehicles or anything that's in here, I'm coming straight for you.
Okay.
I will yank you out of that fucking car. I will fucking put charges on you, and I'll put you in the fucking domestic terrorist fucking app.
And we got photos of your vehicle. That's fine.
There you have it.
Yeah.
Domestic terrorist app. There is a domestic terrorist app that they have in their little phones, it seems. We're already doing a FOIA on that. So we have Ron Wyden from Oregon. Those of you in Oregon, I know there's a lot of you out there that are so targeted and burnt and abused. Write to Ron Wyden and write to Adriano Espaillat from New York. They are introducing legislation to ensure that DHS cannot maliciously obtain your personal information. What are you talking about? They're already doing it, right? But anyways, I think that that's, you should definitely write to them and tell them, yeah, they're already doing it. You should just prohibit them from doing it, because even though the Constitution prohibits it, they don't care. Now, the Epstein files are enabling, the truth bombs are coming out it's only, 3.5 million documents. And there are organizations that are like think tanks that say that they only constitute 2%. Those 3.5 million documents constitute only 2% of the actual documents. Now, let us not forget, and I have, this is a funny video, because let us not forget that we have Liz Crokin, who is a targeted individual and independent journalist, but we also have Alex Jones, who was hilarious. This is a hilarious video.
About on your show is
here we go.
Talking about on your show is your allegation that government officials are aiding in pedophilia, child trafficking, and the grooming of children, right?
Well, you mean like what Jeffrey Epstein did with the Clintons?
I think, I mean, it seems it's funny, but the thing is that right now everybody is realizing once again Alex Jones was right. Now there is a for us one of the there's two paths that are important in this truth telling, and it's number one, that these Epstein files, there seems to be a parallel movement uncovering what's going on, what went on with 9/11. As you all know, it was a false, most of you know, it was a false flag to create a surveillance state and to create the DHS, okay? And to create this program, which was created, it wasn't just created to torture you. It was the purpose of this program, for those of you that don't know it, the reason this program was created was to decipher, according to the 64 types of personality, decipher what is it that makes you break this type of personality. That is why each of us has a different torture menu, and their definition of what makes you break is making you unalive yourself. So for those of us like Melanie from Ikator taught me, for those of us that are still here fighting back and shutting them down, congratulations, because you're a failed experiment. We are all failed experiments, and that is the only thing that I am proud to be a failure in. So I'm going to talk to you about Howard Lutnick. One of the controversies that has come out is that Howard Lutnick, he is the Secretary of Commerce, and he was in the Epstein file have corroborated that he lied under oath in Congress, because in his confirmation hearings, he said that after 2005, when he heard of Epstein's atrocious behavior, he was disgusted by it and he never mingled with him again. However, the Epstein files have released that his statements were incorrect, because he had relations with him, business relations, and he went and visited the island all the way as late as 2011. So yeah, he did lie under oath, and so you have to ask yourself, well, how come President Trump hasn't fired him, right? In my very personal opinion, I think he's some sort of handler, because here's a very intelligent thing that Trump brought out just yesterday. Okay, look at this, and I'm going to put it in context for you. We all have to understand that 9/11 was created, among other things, to create this program. That's why the truth about it has to be exposed.
He literally watched the plane go into the building, go into the World Trade Center. Amazing story. That alone is an amazing story. He was delayed because his wife insisted that he finally, after years, take his child to school. So he took his child to school.
I'm going to stop it here, because this is the guy here. This is him. And I want you to watch how, while President Trump is saying this, he's laughing as if it was something funny, when 658 of his employees died, because that was the first morning ever he didn't show up for work as early as his employees, because for the first time in his life, he took his kid to school, and supposedly he saw the planes that don't exist, flying into the World Trade Center. So just look at his face right here. I mean, I don't understand how anybody could laugh. at such horrific.
Well, that one day, because normally he would have been in the building at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's that business, right? So you owe your wife a lot and your child a lot, right? But his wife insisted that he take his child to school. For 5 years, he didn't do it. He was horrible. What kind of a father was he? Okay, I'll do it. And he was therefore driving down at 8:43, whatever the time was, down the West Side Highway, and he saw the plane go into the side of the building. He said, wow. And he occupied the top 3 floors of the World Trade Center, of the one building of the World Trade Center. And you know what happened there? He lost 100% of the people in that, his whole company was there.
I think that you have to be a very sick criminal to laugh when 658 of your employees died, many leaving families behind. But I think that Trump is paving the way for a full disclosure on what happened on 9/11. And in this context, you have to see something which is very eerie. And it's the following. That in all of the Epstein files, the documents, they're all numbered, stamped. It is from 2019 to 2001. I mean, from 1999, and I guess from 1999 to 2001, the documents are missing. There is a big chunk of like 25,000 documents missing. And I think that Congress and everybody's going to press to get those documents, because no reason why that chunk, why in that time. And what that may mean is that has a lot of the discussion of portraying 9/11. And the reason I think that is because for those of you that have been reading about the news, there has been a lot of discussion how Bill Gates planned the pandemic along with Epstein. And one of the ideas that they threw around was, how do we get rid of the poor people? And the other one came back saying, let's do a pandemic. The entire pandemic picture is there. So these 25,000 missing files between 1999 and 2001 may be indicative that these pedophile criminals, elites, also planned 9/11 to perpetrate all the abuses that have come afterwards and creating the surveillance state. So now that we are on this topic, right, I'm going to continue on this topic because the exposure of what really happened in 9/11, like we know that Hussein didn't have the weapons of mass destruction. I mean, what is going to be unleashed and what's going to be exposed is, I think they're like doing drip on it. This video here will show you that there was no plane.
And I got several of my fucking officers in here.
There was no plane hitting the Pentagon. Okay, let me show you this one here. There was no plane hitting the Pentagon. So if there was no plane, what was it? Well, it had to be a missile, right? But here's the problem. It wouldn't have been a missile from a foreign nation because, for one, it would have been an act of war. For another, the United States, particularly the Pentagon, has an anti-aircraft system that not only would have stopped the missile, but also an aircraft. So when you think of it, they have in place, even if it had been our own, they have anti-aircraft system that would have stopped it. So you have to wonder, how come it wasn't stopped, right? And so you can look it up in Grok. I was reading about the equipments they use for long range ballistic missiles, for aircraft, and they have all these systems to intercept them. So, it was not a foreign nation, it was not an airplane. So what that leaves us, it was a false flag created to create this horrific program. So once it is unveiled that 9/11 was an inside job by the CIA criminals, well, then that's going to be the beginning of the end. Now, remember another thing. DHS, the criminals that run that establish the fusion centers and establish their politics, they were created under the Homeland Security Act of 2002. Prior to 2002, there was no Department of Homeland Security, and we led perfect lives. Think about it. There wasn't any domestic terrorism prior to 2002. None. And so this is the same department that has they lowered it to $104 billion budget. Why? Because they have to be watching us and spending money, torturing us and raping our women and doing all the horrible things they do, and that costs money. But the way you have it is that prior to 2002 it didn't exist, and people led happy lives, So I think that the Epstein files will continue to confirm that when they force the exposure of those 3 years that are missing, that's when things are going to get really, really heavy. Now, the Epstein files, the second path of the Epstein files that continues to confirm that many targeted individuals have been saying for decades. They already, last week I mentioned how they talk about the V2K and the Jew, right? Well, now they have other people have done their deep dive, and they have found that they have tactics to, they have the mosquitoes. Epstein files elaborating on how law enforcement and military would be interested in using a mosquito that injects nanotechnology through the skin. It's there in the Epstein files. And also the emotional trickery that they use to either absolutely love somebody, just fall head over heels in love with honey traps, or to absolutely hate anyone. And I can tell you, I've personally seen that with some of the hatred that is thrown our way to targeted justice. We are fighting for freedom for everybody, and you have to wonder how come there are some TIs that just have, and this is where it is, the emotional trickery. They are victims of the CIA mind control of emotional trickery, making you hate somebody that is fighting for your freedom from torture. So I'm not saying you, my audience, I'm saying the people that this is being done to. Now, there is a huge revelation, and this is very serious because Matt Gaetz has made a post today on social media saying that Mossad must be removed from the Pentagon. Former U.S. Congressman Matt Gaetz says Mossad should be expelled from the Pentagon. And as you know, if you don't know, you know now, even when he was a representative, he never took a penny from AIPAC. Neither did Marjorie Taylor Greene. Neither did Thomas Massie. That's why they can be free thinkers, because they're not told what to say. And now he's not talking in a void. He is talking because there is evidence that I'm going to show you this colonel that talks about it. And
unquestionable that the Epstein business was heavily influenced, let me put it that way, by Mossad.
And so that's somehow emblematic on these huge geopolitical issues.
Yes, I watched Mossad take over the Pentagon. In 2002, the Pentagon was infiltrated by Mossad. They did not need any identification to get through the river entrance of the building. They went upstairs to Douglas Feith, the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, the third most powerful man in the Defense Department. Occasionally, they went to the second most powerful man, Paul Wolfowitz, the Deputy Secretary of Defense, and they had run of the Pentagon. Donald.
There you have it. It's not me saying it. It's a retired Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson. He went public saying how they would walk into the Pentagon without an ID. Do you know how it is to get there? They do a background check of you before you even making an appointment in order for them to tell you if you can come in. And it's like this whole process, okay? So the fact that these people just come in and out just like that, you know, both Mossad and CIA are the wings of one same bird. You know, they are, you know, they are joined at the hip. Okay, so another good news is that Nancy Mace, she is one of the representatives that targeted justice. Well, not her, but we met with her staff. And she is one courageous woman that denounced on the floor of the Capitol that she had been raped while incapacitated. I have no doubt that Representative Mace is a targeted individual, and she's very sympathetic to our cause. So she is demanding. Look at this. She is demanding. She sent a letter to the CIA demanding that they produce the files on Epstein. CIA is looking the other way. But she sent an official letter demanding that, because the CIA originally said it could not find information on Epstein, but it did not deny that it has classified records. It must release them, says Nancy Mace in a letter to the director, Radcliffe. So this is going to be another battle, but she's been very vocal about it, and I don't think that she's going to stop, because you can listen to her, how she's very emphatic about it. Listen to her.
That it could be deep state related to forces within the government who've been there for a very long time. But honestly, when you start digging in and you see the emails from Epstein to his attorneys talking about the quote CIA dump on him in the press, I have questions, and I'm writing a letter to the CIA that will be out tomorrow, because I believe the CIA is in possession of documents that the American people need to hear about and read and see. It wouldn't surprise me, I guess, if he was an intelligence asset of some sort, whether it was our country, another country, multiple countries. That much is clear. There's something else going on here, because this is going to go down as the biggest sex trafficking, I think, operation in American history. It'll go down as one of the biggest cover-ups in American history. And
one of the biggest cover-ups of American history. So I think that, Epstein was created, this demon was created to blackmail people that could not be targeted. Like the people that are targeted are the ones that could not be blackmailed, and vice versa. Just look at Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was going to expose and was trying to expose the abuse of children. I was trying to protect children. He was not a rapist or a pedophile like they try to make him seem. No, he was trying, just like Lady Diana. They were trying to protect them, and they both got murdered. And I really think that they gave a sleep bomb to the doctor that was doing the anesthesia on Michael Jackson. It was all the criminals. So I really believe that, this lady is not going to stop, and we are not going to stop. We're going to continue. The press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, said in a post, we're going to be moving on from the Epstein matter. And what she doesn't realize is the American people are not going to let this pass. They are going to continue. And there's another 3 million documents that have not been produced by Pam Bondi, and she has to produce them. So that's another ongoing fight. And I just think that one of the problems that these people have is that they are so afraid of the price tag they're going to have to pay for all the harm that they have perpetrated on all of this community, victims of government weaponization. But on the other side, you would think, well, they would mitigate damages, right? They would pull the plug on the weapon, stop the harm, and your price tag will be less. But no, right now it's on them, on Pam Bondi, on Kash Patel, on Pete Hegseth. They are the heads of these agencies, and the targeting and the torture is still happening. So it's on them now, because now they know. And some people might think, well, they don't have the security clearance to know. Well, they have an obligation to know, and so does Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi has to have the security clearance. Or she can also ask President Trump, eliminate the security clearances. Eliminate that. That's only for criminality, right? Anyways, now let's turn to, there was a major failed experiment by a Norwegian scientist who corroborated that he gave himself brain damage by testing secret audio weapon on himself. It's not an audio; it's a microwave weapon, high power microwave weapon on himself. I just copied it from the news article. Scientists in Norway gave himself brain damage after testing an experimental weapon designed to disprove the existence of Havana syndrome. He was like that professor, I think, in UPenn, Foster, that he says, no, it doesn't exist. Havana syndrome is it's a myth. Well, he was working in a top secret research project in 2024. The unidentified government scientists constructed a device capable of emitting powerful pulses of microwave radiation. The skeptical researcher tested it on himself, the device, and he soon developed symptoms of the mysterious disease that has struck down diplomats around the world and civilians, we add to that. And if you were listening carefully this week, that Jesse Jackson passed away, the news stated that he had a rare neurological condition, which I am absolutely certain is nothing but Havana syndrome, because I am absolutely certain too that he was a targeted individual because of his fights for equal rights. And we know that the CIA murdered Martin Luther King, with whom he worked as a young man. So there we have it. CIA continues to kill people, and Tulsi continues to allow them, the Denver domestic operations headquarters, to operate, even though they have evidence that they killed the president, that they killed Martin Luther King, and probably that they are operating the microwave weapons that are causing so much harm in America. Anyway, so this pure scientist, it was a classic case of F around and find out. Anyways, there has been a vindication of us that many of us have been called targeted conspiracy theories, right? So the Natural News publication, naturalnews.com, made a really great article today. I urge you all to look it up. And because they peeled the onions, and they go, for years, those labeled conspiracy theories for speaking of a ruling class operating above governments were mocked, censored, and financially punished. Like, for example, truth teller Maria C., her bank accounts were canceled. And all of us targeted individuals, you know how they sabotage our financial, any income, any job opportunity. They double bill us. They, one time, and be careful with this. One time I went to one of those private ATM machines. Well, they debited twice the same withdrawal. So it was a whole thing for me to have to get it returned. But that's the kind of thing they do to you. And so you have to always be fighting this other fight to survive, right? Well, Department of Justice long delayed and partial release of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein network has delivered a staggering vindication for conspiracy theorists. The files confirm the existence of a powerful supra-governmental cabal whose perverse tastes and criminal enterprises are but one facet of a broader agenda for global control. The Epstein files are not merely a sordid list of crimes. They are a key to deciphering the globalist script. The script, which independent media has painstakingly pierced together. outlines a coordinated agenda spanning engineered pandemics, coercive vaccination campaigns, radical social engineering, transhumanism, all working towards the Agenda 2030. So the most profound revelation from the Epstein documents is not the individual horrific acts of depravity and rape and murder of children, horrific as they are, but the irrefutable proof of an Epstein class, a supra-governmental network that directs the world's events. So they act with impunity, treating nations and their citizens as assets to be managed and exploited, which is precisely the purpose of the program that victimizes innocent people around the world. The files provide a map of how elite networks serve as conduits for funding and promoting key globally projects. Why does DHS have a $104 billion budget if it's not precisely for this social engineering project? Anyways, I think it's a great vindication that we are finally getting to see bring the darkness to the light, and that is always amazing. I want to thank you for all your birthday wishes. My birthday was on Monday, and for your unconditional support. I am humbled by it because, everything, as you know, everything I knew up to the moment I discovered I was targeted is gone from me. It's a past gone, but I am in such awe of the mission that so many of you have vested me with to be here. And I wouldn't change anything for any money in the world. Being here for me, like when I wake up in the morning and if I think, what would you like to be doing with your life? That is exactly what I am doing. And I am just so happy to be doing it. And I do it with a passion. So thank you all for your birthday wishes. Now, as many of you know, so the criminal's intent, it backfired. Like Wile E. Coyote's traps for the Roadrunner. Again, they all exploded in their face because they wanted to isolate me. And now what they did is that I have an entire huge worldwide community that they never saw it coming. And I know I have a friend in every country. And for that, I am so grateful. So it just, they continue losing. Now, as many of you know, DHS was defunded as of midnight on Friday. I had an amazing experience Monday night. I went to a store and I was there for over an hour. Not a single perp showed up. So let's hope that the gang stalking is defunded and continues to be defunded even once again that they are funded back. Thank you, Jim. Thank you for that. Now, I want to play for you. We are circulating, as you know, Targeted Justice started an initiative inspired by Dr. Anna Mihalcha, who is so dear to us. Well, there is research that backs up the precept that if a lot of people do intentional meditation or prayer together, in different parts of the world, but at the same time, it works. So I am going to be doing this I'm going to do a version in Spanish and a version in English. And I have this version in English that I have to add the times. I think I'm missing Paris. I'm missing sometimes. But what I want you is to bear with me if I send it every day. But it's a reminder for you. It doesn't cost you anything. And it just has suggestions there of the affirmations you can make. For example, for 5 minutes, say the targeting program is over. I am now free. I walk in peace and freedom. You just create the one that feels organically comfortable for you. Okay, so I'm going to be sending these probably at 11:57 Eastern time. So even though we start at noon Eastern time, so that would be 11 Central Standard Time and 10 Mountain, and I guess 9. I'm not so sure if it's 9 for the West Coast. But the point is, try to join in, 5 minutes of quiet intent and prayer and or meditation, whichever is your choice, and just repeat it. The targeting program is over. I now can walk free. And let's see. I really think that if we do it, from our heart, it's gonna work. We have to do all the efforts. I'm here working 7 days a week. I don't stop, and I don't tell you exactly everything I'm doing, because the criminals, how they are. The moment they know I'm knocking on a person's door, or I send something, or I talk to someone, I know they still interfere, because they illegally listen to my conversations. However, it is better if I don't talk about it, because it gives them more munition. The criminals, the InfraGard criminals that listen to my conversations, or FBI, not necessarily are talking to the people that are the gatekeepers in Congress. So, I try to keep it under wraps until after I have been able to accomplish or get in touch with somebody. Like I just told you today, we did get to talk to Nancy Mace's office, and we told her how children are victims of government weaponization and how they have voices being to their heads. Anyways, good things are happening. Watch Redacted. He's putting out there a lot of content about MK Ultra and about the continuation of MK Ultra. I think this is a very positive thing, because I know him in particular, he had not touched that with a 10-foot pole. More MK Ultra is becoming a mainstream word, something that people didn't know before what it was, and now it's happening. Okay, so thank you so much. I'm not going to apologize for the hacking, because that was done by the criminals, but I do thank you for your patience, for your patience, for staying here. Thank you all for your birthday wishes. Let me see if there's any comments here that I need to answer. Okay, this is the most important thing. If you have not sent your Privacy Act request, let me just repeat myself here. Exposing your files in the FBI, in the DHS, in the ODNI, and now in the DOJ, that is the key to exposing this program. The reason why today we are in a different position that we were a couple years ago, or even a year ago, is that we have, number one, the exposure of the prohibited access and restricted access files at the FBI, because all of the answers that they gave you, they said, oh, we looked in the central record systems. No, that's like a card catalog in an old library. What we want is the Sentinel and the prohibited access and the restricted access files and the privacy access to them, that they don't get to choose where they look for your files. They have to look in all agency files. And if you need some guidance regarding this, please go to targetedjustice.com/legal, and you will see there the Privacy Act request tab. Number two, the people in Europe, those of you in the European community, 27 countries, you have a right to file a Privacy Act request, and also you can do it to DHS, to DOJ, and to FBI. I urge you to do so, because if there is incorrect information about you, the Privacy Act is not just about you seeing your files. It's also about demanding that the agency correct incorrect information about you, false information about you. So when they give me my nomination form, because if you can see in the Targeted Justice webpage, it has the language. If not, I really urge you contact Jill TJ at proton.me, because she is an expert editor and she has had a lot of experience with this. Well, guess what? Not only do you have a right to see your records, but you also have a right to demand that they correct the false information. I have a right to get copies of them. And for the people, the American citizens have a right to damages. You can file for damages under the Privacy Act for violations of the Privacy Act. Now, since Crowder, the Catholic school teacher that Rand Paul exposed, she's married to a federal air marshal, and she was placed in Handling Code 3. This is huge for us. Remember one thing, Handling Code 3 It's not 1 and 2. 1 is known terrorist. 2 is suspected terrorist that get the 4 S's in their boarding pass at the airport. Handling code 3 never gets told, never gets the 4 S's. That is why the disclosure by Senator Rand Paul is so crucial to our effort. And if you put the language that it's in the model Privacy Act request in the Targeted Justice website, well, you put in there the language that just like Christine Crowder, I want to see any form that I have. And they cannot tell you that they're not going to give to you because there's something called equal protection under the law. If they gave it to her, they have to give it to you. And so I just wish you could understand how important this effort is. Please send your Privacy Act request, because I am going to file a lawsuit for that. And we're still looking into, who is going to be included, because they're still in the process of, I'm going to answer. The FBI has not even replied to mine. But the good thing is you can sue, because either they deny you the records or they don't even answer you within the time frame of the 20 days. So, either way. Now, for those of you that have been denied access to your records, Targeted Justice has an appeal format there that you can adapt to your needs. We are not a law firm. We are not providing legal advice. These are just samples of Privacy Act requests and appeals that can be submitted. I cannot be at the attorney. And people continue writing to me. I am the most, you don't understand, you have to see my evidence. No, I don't. Not one targeted individual is more than the other for me. We're all the same. It's either we're all free or none of us are free. But I'm not gonna advocate for one person and not for the other 6 million, including the ones that are outside of the United States. That's my mission here. Okay, so please abstain from writing to me and telling me, no, you have to see my evidence. No, I will not. I will not, because I have a huge community that needs to be free. I'm doing this for everyone. I'm not going to do it for one single person. Okay, so have that, please be mindful of that and respect it. I ask you. Okay, well, thank you so much. And send your Privacy Act requests, and I hope to see you next week. I'm going to take some precautions so that the criminals don't do what they did today. Anyways, have a wonderful night and see you next week. If they let me, they won't even let me end the stream. This is so ridiculous.